So I recently asked for the audience's unpopular opinions about albums. Any time period, any genre, it doesn't matter. I like to hear other people's perspectives. It might be a perspective I wouldn't have thought of. So without further ado, let's hop right into it. As sexual as this generation is, the music about sex is kind of boring. Albums like Erotica, Janet, Dirty Mind are better than whatever sex bop music is playing on the radio today. These older artists were crass and uncompromising, and it matched the music. Today you can hear someone describe an orgy, and the instrumental sounds like elevator music. I agree, and keep in mind a lot of those artists were at the age that the younger generation is at now, when they were making that type of music. I think these classic sexual records just committed fully to the bit, and at times they were crass and over the top, but that freedom showed in the music. Today in pop music, I feel like the music is more subdued, but the themes and images are in your face and brash. There's not full commitment to the bit, and a lot of the legendary artists in their albums use sexuality to show different sides of themselves and spearhead a reinvention, and I don't think sexuality is necessarily used as world building at this moment in pop music. This video is sponsored by Bellesa, oh yes, who's hosting a huge giveaway where you can get in on the fun, whether you're a young adult or seasoned adult. Bellesa is a very inclusive and community-oriented brand. Bellesa is a company made by women, made for everyone to explore their own sexuality and embrace it. Whether it is solo, partnered, or an orgy with elevator music like the Unpopular opinion stated. And everyone who signs up with the link in my description box wins a free rose suction toy with your order. Bellesa products are made from medical-grade silicone that are 100% body safe. Here are some of the goodies Bellesa sent me. We have the Pebble, suction and vibration controlled independently, and ergonomically built to fit perfectly in your hand, with no annoying pattern modes. We have the Pebble Pro, a stronger, more powerful motor for deeper, more satisfying sensations. Extended battery life keeps the experience going as long as you do. We also have the Air Vibe, which was designed for dual stimulation for the G-spot and clit. It comes in the most discreet casing, is waterproof and rechargeable. And then we have the Thump, a toy that does it all, vibrates, suctions, and thumps, and it utilizes Bellesa's improved pleasure jet technology. And then we have the famous Rose toy that you've probably seen on literally every single social media app. It has 10 different modes, it's compact and discreet, and it is probably the most aesthetically pleasing sex toy one could have. It literally looks like a rose. The toys come in compact, discreet cases and are made for all body types, so everyone can have their cake and eat it too. No matter if you're playing Madonna, Janet, or Sabrina, there's fun for everyone. And everyone who signs up with the link in my description box wins a free rose suction toy with your order. Good Girl Gone Bad deserves the recognition the fame gets for its influence. The album played a major role in reshaping pop music, fashion, and culture in the late 2000s. The album brought darker, edgier aesthetics into the mainstream, reshaping how pop music looked and sounded at that time. The album also helped pioneer EDM's crossover into the mainstream music. Gaga and Britney get most of the credit, however it was Rihanna who created and set the foundation. This is an interesting observation. I do think albums like Blackout and The Fame are stronger bodies of work, so they will tend to get more acclaim, but Good Girl Gone Bad definitely had a heavy hand in shaping trends at that time. Just like the whole trap pop thing, people will often credit Miley Cyrus with Bangers or Katy Perry with Dark Horse or even Ariana Grande, when Rihanna did it first and she spearheaded so many trends of the 2000s and 2010s. I also think Good Girl Gone Bad has aged well. Songs like Don't Stop the Music, Umbrella, Sell Me Candy still sound good to my ears. Even a song like Disturbia visually and sonically feels like it predates the dark pop thing that Gaga would come to do. It's definitely one of Rihanna's best albums. It's just a collection of really excellent singles that brought out a lot of her personality. On to the next comment. Some people don't even know what they really want. When Chance the Rapper and Justin Bieber and Lorde were making more positive and happy sounding albums, people said it wasn't as good as the albums they made when they were depressed and on drugs. Yet when SZA made an album pretty much detailing most of her heartbreak and negative experiences, suddenly she's too low vibrational and they're too good to listen to that type of music. It's like if you're happy, you're boring. If you're depressed, you're bad energy. And I know some people will say it just depends on that album, but I personally did not hate The Big Day, SOS, and the other albums. I feel like this comment is conflating too many different things together. Like comparing Lorde and Justin Bieber is a little ridiculous, like the core audience complaining about Justin Bieber's albums are likely not the same people complaining about Lorde's albums. And it's just too much of a general statement. It would make more sense to compare the artists to their own album if that was the case trying to be made. But even then, I don't agree with the sentiment of this opinion. Just because something is happy or is intended to be positive doesn't mean people have to like it, doesn't mean the lyrics or music were executed well, and vice versa. Also, since when is SOS hated? It might have some haters because everything Popular does, but it's one of the most acclaimed popular albums released this decade so far. I don't think anything said in this opinion proves people don't know what they want. I just think some albums are better than others, regardless of their intent. The whole y'all just hate fun brigade is just annoying to me. It's like, can we not have standards for fun music as well? To add, Solar Power is not a happy album. If you actually listen to the lyrical content, people often say it's a happy album just because it has some bright colors on the packaging, but she mainly talks about isolation and her dislike of fame on the album. It's not happy at all. The title track sounds like it's trying to be happy though. Radical Optimism by Dua Lipa isn't a bad album by any means, but I feel like it got overshadowed as it was released around the same time as Kendrick Lamar's Not Like Us. Therefore, it didn't do enough promotion like her last release. Radical Optimism is definitely not a bad record. Once again, French Exit is one of my favorite Dua Lipa songs ever. I think top 10 Dua Lipa songs for me. But I feel like saying it's because of the Kendrick record is kind of silly. I mean, so many great acclaimed albums got attention that were released in 2024, from Brat to Cowboy Carter, Short and Sweet, Chromacopia, Hit Me Hard and Soft. The list goes on. The reason Radical Optimism didn't land the way people thought it would is because Dua didn't come with her best, and I really think it's as simple as that. The marketing was a bit confusing, she apparently has some switch ups in her team, and the music wasn't her best. It's not bad though. I wish Samara Joy got the attention Lil Faye has in the jazz community. Both ladies make amazing music, but I feel like Samara Joy is overlooked even with the Grammy she has. I agree, but at the same time, Lil Faye is more pop oriented while Samara has a more true blue jazz and blues inspired sound. Some Lil Faye songs are just pop songs with jazz chord progressions, and I think that ultimately gives her more reach, and she seems to have a bigger machine behind her as well. Samara primarily sticks to her core audience and niche. The Torture Poets department is not quite the masterpiece some diehards claim it is. The production is hollow, and while I understand its intention is to be uncompromising in release, it still has some of her worst lyrics and songs. But it's not absolutely terrible and has some well executed songs as well. Between the anthropology and the main side, it easily could have been trimmed down to a 12-track album or even a cute little EP and been more well received. The best songs don't rank among her best, but they're okay more than outright bad. I do agree it has some good songs and would have been better received if it was trimmed down between the two parts. And as angry as she sounds on some of this album, the production should have really took it there. I've grown a fondness for songs like How Did It End and The Smallest Man to Ever Live. Latto's Sugar Honey Iced Tea album was one of the better female rap albums in the last few years. It's not perfect, but compared to the rap girls who became popular in the 2020s, it was better and more cohesive than most. I don't know if I can agree with this. It's definitely Latto's best album and it is cohesive, but it's just not very memorable to me. I like Latto on a surface level, but she has never hooked me. I feel like Meg and even Glorilla just kind of offer more. I'm not sure how unpopular of an opinion this is, but Unplugged 2.0 by Lauryn Hill should not have been released. I know more people were hungry for her after Miseducation was the hit that it was, but she was absolutely not in the right mental space to perform that night. She made up songs practically on the spot, her voice was shot, and she went on these long tangents about nothing throughout. And seeing how she's still in a rough place now, that album did not do her any favors. If we're talking about ethics, I agree, but if we're talking music, I'm going to have to hold the line, because I like how unfiltered and raw Unplugged is. There are some gorgeous melodies and lyrics within that album, and people have taken them and gone on to make something beautiful with it. Peace of Mind is one of my favorite Lauryn Hill songs. I would have loved to hear those songs fully produced and fleshed out. They sound like they have good bones for a fully produced record, but I think there is a lot of appeal in the Unplugged record because it is so bare, so raw. But it's one of those things where it's either for you or it's not. But in a way, I think her turmoil during that period makes it so resonant and reinforces the reasons people also fell in love with Miseducation, and that's why it's gained a cult following. All Charli XCX albums after Sucker had the same vibe and good songs, like Brat. The industry just caught up to her. If Crash was released now, it would be way more successful. I agree, you could even say some of her albums and mixtapes are better than Brat. I even like Sucker. I think all of her discography is worth a listen. I'm not so sure about the Crash take, just because that was her playing the game, but when Brat came along, it made her realize that she didn't have to play the game, and it's not what made her resonate either. So I'm not sure that Crash would be off that much better, because I think the new audience Charlie has acquired appreciate the left field sensibilities about her that she tried to tone down during Crash. This comment has a few, but I zeroed in on the ones I thought were truly unpopular or divisive. Emos I Can't Sin is still Sabrina's best album. I don't agree, I think it's still short and sweet. Emos I Can't Sin is fine, but some of those songs just sound like Julia Michaels or Selena Gomez to me, or any other number of people. Short and Sweet is where she felt born to me, but Emos I Can't Sin is where she planted the seed. I do think Emos I Can't Sin has some good songs, and I even like some Sabrina songs before that. In My Bed is a top tier Sabrina song to me. Meanwhile, Positions is Ariana's worst. It is not her worst, but it's not her best either, like I've seen people trying to claim it is. Her debut album is not better than Positions, but I think Positions is not better than Sweetener, Thank You Next, or Dangerous Woman. Prism and One of the Boys are better than Teenage Dream as full bodies of work. Teenage Dream has a lot of iconic hits, but as an album, it's just a compilation of singles. I think Prism and One of the Boys are more cohesive, sonically and thematically, but at their core, they're still just a collection of singles. None of those albums are telling a tight narrative story, or have an overall point. I feel like the highs of Teenage Dream was stronger, but I have a fondness for her debut album, that sound, the glimpse of her as a singer-songwriter on songs like Thinking of You. It's definitely an interesting time capsule. World War Joy by the Chainsmokers is one of the best albums. Pretty basic and safe collaborations, but it actually works. It's unskippable if you just want decent background music. I actually tried to listen to this album due to this comment, and I could not make it through that album. It is not my definition of decent background music. It actually irritated me. But if you want decent background music by the Chainsmokers, I think Paris, Roses, Something Just Like This with Coldplay, that era of them is decent background music. I know 143 is objectively bad, but not as bad as people make it seem to be. It has some nice tracks here and there. Yes, the production sounds simple, and some of the lyrics are questionable, but overall, it's not a bad album, it's just mid. Also, if anyone else released it, people would praise it. It's just a Katy Perry targeted hate at this point, and less towards the album. I don't understand how you say 143 is objectively bad, and then end it with, if anyone else released it, people would praise it. I don't think if anyone else released 143 that people would praise it. One of the biggest criticisms of 143 was that it sounds anonymous, it sounds soulless. It lacked a lot of character, even Katy's own at times. I do genuinely think it is a bad album with some passable songs. Pop fans always try to give an underdog narrative and redemption arc to an album that is poorly received, and sometimes it's worth it, but in 143's case, I don't think so. Outside of the biggest singles, Survivor by Destiny's Child aged like milk. To be honest, I don't even care for the singles besides Emotion, It's a Beautiful Cover, but I think it's definitely their weakest album. American Life by Madonna is a good album. The reception wasn't good because she delivered something different from what was marketed, but it has great songs like Mother and Father, Ecstatic Process, and Intervention. She did some questionable production choices that I liked, but at least she tried new things sonically. I see it as an album that the general public doesn't like, but her fans do. I'm an American Life truther. I think the branding of this album really set it up for failure. It was also tone deaf, but American Life is genuinely weird, very personal, and just an interesting listen even if it's not for you. But yeah, I agree, I think it's a good album that fell under the weight of its branding and probably should have had different single choices. Björk's latest albums are very boring and repetitive. Most songs sound the same. Her singing off-key with a plain sound behind random noises, appearing out of nowhere, and the absence of a chorus every time I tried to listen to Utopia or Fosura, I fell asleep. Sorry. Homogenic and Vonocura are definitely her best albums. I think Björk is a spectrum. There are things that are more accessible and stick to a classic song format, and then there are things that are off the grid and balls to the wall experimental, and it's either your forte or it's not. That doesn't mean it's bad or boring, it's just not for you, and that's okay. I prefer her more accessible work as well. Amerie's Touch album is genuinely one of the great R&B offerings of this century. The production, vocals, and writing are all so intricate, thoughtful, and perfectly delivered. Not a single piece of fat in any song or a single out-of-place record. Say what you want about her live vocals, but she created innovative and timeless art in her prime. I always struggle with definitive statements like of the century because we're not even halfway through the century, but it's definitely one of the most unique offerings of its time period. It's also very tasteful. It's not just the One Thing album like some people might think, even though One Thing is a great song. If you haven't heard the album, you should give it a listen. After Hours is the best Weeknd album in Clear's trilogy. The old stuff was cool, but the mystery worked in its favor and the edgy lyrics haven't aged well. After Hours is when The Weeknd actually perfected his vibe, easily his most cohesive and impressive work. I'm not sure if I wholeheartedly agree that it completely clears his old stuff, but I do think it's where he perfected everything. It feels like his manifesto, and therefore I'm not mad at you saying it's his best album, because a case can certainly be made. As much as I love the Bodyguard soundtrack, I wish it was exclusively Whitney Houston. The first 6 songs are memorable and stand out, while the second half of the soundtrack doesn't hold up, and are dated. I know EPs were not big in the early 90s like they are now, but still imagine The Bodyguard being 6 songs. Whitney would have been 3 for 3 for soundtracks, Waiting to Exhale and The Preacher's Wife. Yeah, I don't even think anyone remembers the songs that aren't Whitney Houston on that soundtrack. It should have been fully her. The Whitney songs are so strong, it's hard for anyone to even follow behind her on that album. Oops, I Did It Again is the best teen pop album ever. I have to disagree with this one. Britney's earlier albums, particularly her first 2, and you could even argue first 3, are singles only type of albums. There might be 1 or 2 songs besides the singles that bang within those albums. They're also extremely uniformed to the point where a lot of them can sound like the same song. I love the Oops era visually, some of the best music videos in pop history. Oops is a lot more polished. Her voice really centers on that signature squeaky, nasally sound, whereas on her debut you could hear a bit more of her huskiness peek through at times. I say this to say, I think it's even arguable that her debut is better than Oops. But when we talk about teen pop, how it's evolved, the different phases, I think there have been far more interesting, far more consistent albums made by teenagers, such as Avril Lavigne's debut, Lord's Pure Heroine, Billie Eilish's When We All Fall Asleep Where Do We Go, Fiona Apple's Tidal, Brandy's Never Say Never, Writings on the Wall by Destiny's Child, just to name a few. There's so many great records made by teenagers that connected to a teenage demographic that have held up so much better as a body of work. But that about concludes my unpopular opinions. Tell me what unpopular opinion resonated with you most down below, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Thanks for watching. Bye.